Welcome to Suspect Photography's first full-blown assignment. You had 8 days if you opened up your email on day one to get this assignment. And the assignment comes from an interesting book from an instructor that I know and love, Douglas Holleley. This is his book, Your Assignment Photography, which I believe I did have a link to the Amazon for this book. And the book is all about growing yourself as a photographer and an artist, and it sort of starts inside yourself. So this was one of the assignments, was photograph 7 deadly sins and photograph virtue. So I thought it was an interesting assignment to choose, and let's get started on a share screen here. Suspect photography assignment, photograph virtue. I just want to go over quickly why I chose this picture as my virtue. So when I was creating this class, instead of just shooting virtue, which I asked you all to do, I went into my archive and I just felt this was a drone shot from Governor's Island of New York Harbor and, of course, Lady Liberty. And I always felt that if there isn't anything more virtuous than Lady Liberty, I don't know, you tell me what's more virtuous than Lady Liberty. So that's why I chose that as the cover photo. Last night, we'll get to last night in a second, but this assignment is about the self. This is where everything starts. And, for those of you that know me, I like to kind of get a little deep and wax poetic about photography and artistry and whatnot. And I think that's the core to really taking this serious and building a body of work that actually has a lot of meaning. And, I'm going to be a little greedy here and say, hopefully the body of work survives who we are when we move on, as we all must. If our work continues, the Vikings would call it a saga. So what will be your photographic saga, your photographic story that you leave behind, and the stories you choose to tell? So these things all start with yourself, and I chose this assignment based on a pyramid. So where it all starts is always important, because this is where this burgeoning photo school is also starting. So I want to highlight positivity. Um, I have CNN on all too often as background drone here in the apartment, and when you really get down to it, it's a crazy world. So you have to really go out there and seek the beauty, seek the good things, and on our photo journey, so to speak, I want to be positive. The other thing I wanted to do, and I think everyone needs to do this, is open a dialogue to yourself. It's introspection. And as I go about and I teach photography, I see different personality types making different photographs, and especially doing some street photography in New York, watching how a subject is engaged by the photographer. And I believe that has a lot to do with your upbringing and your id, your ego, how you perceive yourself to others, which we're going to work on an assignment with that, doing some real self-introspection, how you perceive yourself to others. And that is part of a dialogue within yourself. And once you start to have this dialogue and understand it, my hope, and this is what I'm hoping that this works out, is that you can recognize your strengths and you can play to them, and you can recognize your weaknesses and you can work on overcoming them, or working around them, or simply dealing with something. If you're not so good at something, let's create a pressure around it, so that when we come close to it, we can kind of get back into the positive. So that's what this assignment was all about. Last night uh, was the biannual at the Whitney Museum of American Art. And in the back of my head was this class and the assignment. So this was a wall of photos, and I think it was very crowded. It was opening night, members night. It was really packed. So many beautiful people were out. That's my lovely wife, is the first blonde on the right. And it's a beautiful museum. And the biannual is important because what it does is it's a survey every 2 years. And we've been going now for about 8 years. 1 year got skipped and delayed because of COVID, but you kind of see the different social issues that were up. So this wall, it was too crowded to read a placard. So I had to kind of walk up to the wall. We're just all looking at it, trying to understand what the series of photographs is. And what it was it was a statement about women's reproductive rights. And it was
David,
huge prints. Yes.
I'm sorry, I can't see your screen.
You know why? Because I didn't hit share.
Okay.
That's why. Okay. From the Whitney last night. And we got that over to the side. So what they were just a series of photographs that we couldn't tell what they were, but they were basically reproductive rights, and it was clinics and women, and it had modern pictures and vintage pictures, and it was a very interesting thing. Now, kind of the cool part about this, I want to show you, is that when I was putting this together, I had two pictures, and I'd asked for only one photograph from everybody. So I cheated a little bit because this is a picture on the side of the work, and then this is a photograph with people there, but then putting them together, and you can kind of do something interesting there. So that was a little micro lesson within the whole thing. So that was at the Whitney. I recommend going taking a look at it. Um, the Whitney's always impressive. Personally, I wasn't a big fan of this biannual there. I said it. There wasn't enough photography. There was some painting that I liked, but otherwise it wasn't so great. Okay, let's cut to Photoshop. Let's review the assignment. And let's see what you guys came up with. We are going to start with David Wright. And I also want to just push this down. Okay, so, all right, David, I don't know if you're here in the audience. I don't see you, but however, I love this photograph. I love it because it's very graphical. Uh, it's had a strong sense of geometry. Um, Pretty much compositionally, all the T's are crossed, all the I's are dotted. It's got gesture. It's a good photograph on its own. You know, the more you look at it, because it's so linear, you see the one monk who's off to the one monk who's not connected to the others, has a very introspective look. And the other one's really engaged with them. It's cool. It's a really great photograph. I love how also immigration office arrival. It's got a great sense of place. I don't know exactly where this is, but I can imagine somewhere in Tibet, China. So that's pretty good. I like that you chose virtue. This was an example of virtue, are these monks. Um, David, if you can unmute yourself if you're here in the audience. I don't think so. But very beautiful photograph. I also like the fact that you broke the rule and it's not a 4x3 photograph. This is a sort of a panorama. I would imagine though that you didn't shoot this with the greatest camera in the world, which is okay. But the reason why I say that is that we're looking at Photoshop, and you'll notice we're getting we stretched this one out. So I don't know what your original file is, what you shot this on. Doesn't matter, because if you see this shot, whether it's an iPhone in your pocket or a traditional camera in your hand, boom, you'd make that shot. So great work. I like it quite a bit. Again, I wish you were here so you could just have a word about that, about why you chose this. Okay, move on. Right, so because Jan, we're Facebook friends, and I follow you. We're in each other's algorithm. I know you poke around nature quite a bit. Um, when I saw this, the first thing I thought is that it just needs a cropping. A cropping would help right away. So that top left corner and the beach, I feel is a bit problematic. The driftwood in the bottom left corner, um, the driftwood over here, I'm not going to call that necessarily a problem. I think we could work with that, and we're going to do some cropping a little bit. The thing about this photo is that the action is right. It's right here. It's the it's a having the duck solid and the wings moving is very angelic. So I think that's really where the picture really lies in there. Of course, a shot like this, if you've got a 70 to 300 or a 100 to 400 lens, you can really kind of get in there when you shoot it. I don't know what you shot with this. I didn't look at the metadata on it, but let's just quickly do a crop, and we're going to crop it in the 2:3 ratio. We're going to switch that over, and let's just see what we got with a heavy duty crop. I don't want to take away too much, but yeah, I'm sorry for the piece of driftwood on the bottom. I don't know if we're going to be able to really do. We I think we're going to have to lose the one bird and get it. Um, I feel that we just need to just say that we shot it with a longer lens and get in there and let's see what we got. And then let's blow it up. And look at that, you shot it with a good camera, so we got plenty of resolution going on. Um, I wouldn't mind just looking at the image size on this. Okay, so we're at 300. This could make it. It's still a big. It's still a big file, even though we cropped it heavily. That's actually pretty impressive. Um, so there we go. That's kind of what I'm thinking with that. If you want to unplug yourself, Jan, and do you want to tell us what you were going for, or where the shot was in your head?
Okay. Um, well, I shot it with my Fuji X-T30
Hmm.
and I used a wide angle lens. So it was cold. I didn't bring other lenses out there. I just brought that one. So the virtue idea, I don't know if I really captured that, but to me, what is good about I enjoy about photography is going out in nature, going and being able to witness things such as that bird. Um,
Were you thinking about virtue or the assignment, or did you have?
yes, yeah, I was thinking about it and what I could do, where I could go. I thought about it for I don't know, almost a whole week because I went out there on it was either a Saturday or a Sunday,
Okay.
and it was very cold. And I the first thing I came up with what is good is that we preserve these areas. This was a nature preserve.
Okay.
Okay, we I don't have a national park near me except for Gettysburg, and that isn't really what I wanted to communicate. I wanted to communicate nature as opposed to an event being commemorated. And this is it's a nature preserve in Havre de Grace, Maryland, on the Chesapeake Bay.
Beautiful. Okay, I'll tell you what, with that in mind, I would say, this is like a little bit of landscape, a little bit of wildlife altogether, because you're really talking about the gestalt, everything together on it
Mhm.
is the virtuous thing, is just nature. So um, I think you completed the assignment well, because you kind of dug in a little bit, and that was on your mind when you were shooting it. When I interpreted the virtue in this one was down the road, it was example. It was down the road, it was nature, but it was really like a just that lift off from the dock. It was like a I don't know. I keyed in because of flight. Flight was kind of like, that's a virtue if you can fly. It's pretty cool. Um, but right on, you should keep working on this area. A couple, you're really kind of going after the landscape, and I'll just throw out. I understand now when you say nature, how the driftwood and the shallow water going out. Um, I would work on composition, just things like the corners. Look at your corners before you click the shutter. Take a little bit less time, slow down a little bit, make sure that visually you're good. I learned that technique when I was a wedding photographer, and you made sure that like trees or branches weren't coming out of people's heads, things like that. And then of course we had the great uh, photographer. He's in Brooklyn now. oh my God, his name escapes me for a second, but he had this very gruff voice, and he'd say, "You're responsible for every millimeter of your viewfinder," and I still can't forget that. And
Hmm.
that's it, yeah. So that's all part of it. So well done, Jan. Thanks. I look forward to seeing some
Thank you.
more work. Who knows? Maybe some black and white work will happen.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank
John.
you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thanks for submitting, of course. So, okay, John Dolber. This was one of the first, John, you were one of the first people to respond to the lesson, the call for arts. And um it was a cold day last week, and when this popped up into the Dropbox, I was like, yes. It's the virtue of I think you have to do it, the virtue of growth, the virtue of spring. It continues. It's been cold, but boom, something a spring is coming up, ready to do its thing. And that heralds the end of winter. So that's what I picked up on it. In terms of the photograph itself, what I like about it was it took me a little bit of time to decipher the photograph. And what I mean by that is that you've got this um, interesting lighting, harsh lighting. I'll say it's a warm, harsh lighting, which is interesting. It looks like it's a crop, so it's a square. Did you shoot it horizontal, vertical, and crop it? I don't know what you did in post. Um, I like that the exposure is very exploding. It's different. It's stylized. I wonder if you shoot more frequently like this. I wouldn't mind seeing your Instagram. Um, I like it a lot, and I hope I interpreted virtue right. John, are you here in
Yep.
the class? Oh, okay.
Yeah. The actually that was I was trying to do the virtue, but interpreting it, it's what's virtuous and try to going back and forth on that. I was really confused and like, what could I come up with? And I started thinking about crocuses coming up, but nobody wants to see another picture of a crocus. So this is a daylily, and it's next to an old planter box. It's all rotted, and I figured it was a nice juxtaposition between the rotted box and the new growth.
Mhm.
That was shot in a square format. That's out of camera, no processing to it, because you would limit it 2 to 4 megapixels. So that's how it was shot, and that was just using Sony, and I believe that was a telephoto lens right around 68 millimeters.
Were you down on the ground?
Yes, I put the camera almost on the ground because I wanted that lower perspective. So another thing that kind of the virtue is you wouldn't normally see it. So giving the plant it, I composed that picture about 4 different times. If you look in the upper left-hand corner, it's just a dark speck. The picture I took prior to this had too much of that edge out and was distracting. And I think if I did it again, I'd move the camera off to the left, but rotate it to the right to get a little more diagonal angle in it. And
I
try to
like
use
it.
a.
Yeah, I think it's unorthodox. That's what I like about it. This isn't a straight up photo. And like I said, it really took me it took me about a good 10 seconds to kind of figure out exactly what's going on, which is great because any photograph that holds attention is always good. Um, I'm gonna I hate to be contrived here, but I'm gonna say you nailed it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very kindly.
Pretty cool. I also want to add though, when I say 2 to 4 megapixels, that's the size that you're saving it to upload it to Dropbox. So you
Okay.
don't have to shoot in the smaller size. You can just basically when you go to drop it into Dropbox, keep it under 5 megabytes. But ideally 2 to 3 because we're doing screen resolution here. We're not doing anything too heavy duty, so we don't want to send giant emails. But right on. Thank you so much. All right. I don't think Kevin is here, but we'll talk about this one. And I'm kind of bummed that Kevin isn't here because I kind of wanted to understand where virtue was in this one. Um, I think it's a beautiful photograph, and much like one of the earlier ones we saw, it had uh, it's not a 2:3 ratio. This is more of a panoramic, more of an HD ratio. It has all the hallmarks of a good photograph. I like the reflection, um, the shipping containers, and that I definitely the barge boat and whatnot. I kind of dig that because I have family in New Jersey and I grew up in New Jersey. And when you drive on the turnpike by Elizabeth in New Jersey, the Port of Elizabeth, there's all these these container mover structures. And when you see them at a distance as you're driving up, they look like mechanical dinosaurs that are coming out of Jersey. So that triggers that memory for me. I have to say though, I don't quite see the virtue unless it's the virtue of the free market and industrialization and movement, if that's even a virtue. I guess a Luddite would ignore that, but an industrialist would say yes. Um, I'm not too sure. I wish you were in this one so you could say it. Maybe when we put this up on YouTube, you'll drop in the comments what's going on there. But it's a beautiful photograph. I think everyone would agree that, right? It's quite dynamic. Looks like that one dinosaur shooting something out of it. Very cool. Okay. All right, Liz Savage. Doop, 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 doop. I don't know. We just discovered. Hold on. Okay. Here we go. This is a beautiful photograph. Virtue, I believe these are prayer flags, Tibetan prayer flags. Um, the location, if we're staying accurate to the flags and they haven't been brought over to the Rockies, um, Tibet, China, northern India, somewhere monkish, I believe. Uh, I like it quite a bit. I'm going to throw the only critique that I'm going to really give this one. I'm going to grab the crop tool and I just want to take a look. We're going to get rid of that tree stump there. Okay, hold on. Let's see if we're missing anything too key. I think we can do this. Hold on. I'm going to end up with a little click there. Wait. Okay, so I just want to toggle back and forth between this change and I want to see how you guys all feel about it. And I gotta go back to you guys see that. Hold on. Okay, what do you guys think about that? Do we like it better with the slight crop? I like it a lot better.
A little
It,
bit, yeah.
it clears up, it clears this space properly. When you have this block here, you're looking at the picture and you're like, and you're weighed over here because of the darker area. It is more weight to the left. When we do the slight crop, it opens it up and our eyes kind of I feel my eyes just kind of flow around it now. And as I look around the top and swing, now I get to the bottom and I kind of go around like that and then over here into the yellow. I think that's pretty good. The background, these are extremely crisp, the flags, which is great. The background exposure, wouldn't mind playing with the background a little bit, maybe tweaking that a little bit, but this is a really good photograph. So I want to say great job to Liz Savage. That's a killer photograph. All right, moving over to Paul. Let's get rid of the crop. I don't believe Paul is with us. No. Okay. Uh, I like the lighting on it. The warmth of the lighting. There's a texture to it. Um, I always feel a little guilty when I photograph statues. But if Paul, if you were seeking this photo out and this was your choice and you saw virtue and you saw this, then it's a successful assignment. And I think that you nailed it. The photograph itself has a really nice light hitting it and it pops out of the background. I like that you got a highway in the background, that sky is beautiful. That's what you want. Um, I I don't recognize who the statue is or what the statue is, but obviously it's a virtuous woman, mother, most likely. I guess we could maybe try to get in here and see what. Oh, look at that! Welcome. This is the Chicnunga Creek Trail. Very cool. Yeah, I like it. I like it quite a bit. That sky is much better than. Hold on a second. Wait a minute. Whoa, whoa, whoa. So, all right, we got some Kate Middleton just got in trouble for this. We got some we got some shoddy Photoshop work going on here. The selection wasn't complete. If you did an auto selection, it didn't the pop that I was talking about before wasn't achieved with just lighting and exposure. It was done in a little bit of post. Now, I'm not going to say that I'm not going to say that post is a bad thing. I'm not too sure uh, how posty this really is. Again, over here, this is where you can all see the problem here. And I'm going to throw out to you, I had uh, God, I can't think of this guy's name, but I can think of his saying. Um, Chip Simmons was the photographer. Chip Simmons said that either you do Photoshop really good or you do Photoshop really bad. So this is not good Photoshop work. You got to get in there. I suspect you relied on the auto masking feature, which be careful of things that are automatic. And, and I always believe that anything easy isn't worth it. But what you have to do is if, like, let's say we're going to select things the old-fashioned way, and we're going to go to the selection tool, magic wand selection tool, and we select that. We can see that that's been now selected. And then if we hit the shift button and we select it, we could keep adding to the selection that we had. You can hit the caps lock button and the magic wand turns into a more precise tool. So this could be theoretically corrected, or it takes a little bit more work. But there we go. Okay. Um, yeah, I'm not going to be judgmental and say that you saved this picture, you made the picture, you enhanced it using Photoshop technique. I'm not going to give you any shade for that, Paul, but I will say, sir, that you gotta make sure you get everything in there. All right, moving over to Todd Sovin. This is a beautiful candid photo. Um, Todd's not here, so I wonder obviously what we're looking at here. And
Yeah, I am here.
oh, you are here, Todd. Oh, okay, welcome. Good. Okay, glad to see you here. So my process for this crit has been when I first looked at the images, I wanted to try to understand where virtue fit in. So uh I think in this case, to me, it was virtue through piety. I don't know if that was that a correct assessment, what you were going after? Uh,
Yeah, I was. It was in Ukraine, and I was just captured by the beauty of the cathedrals, and so approached a cathedral, heard singing going on, so walked in. It was a fairly dark context, and so I also wanted to be really careful and honor the folks that were in there. So this is sort of one of those shots where you're kind of holding the camera to the side and taking the photo. And as I was looking around, this young lady in the midst of the busyness and these older folks, there's just this young lady dropped to her knees, and I just thought, wow. And so that's when I saw the thing of piety, this is the picture that came to mind, or virtue came to mind. I thought there was this virtuous young lady who, in the midst of all that was going on, just said, I'm going to my knees. And
Amazing. Yeah. Was this during the wartime? Is this recent?
no, this was just prior, just prior.
Maybe in a way they were praying for peace. Did they know
Yeah,
was
yeah, yeah,
that the cloud of war was on the horizon?
yeah,
Well, okay, so a beautiful candid photograph. This is like it really qualifies as street photography. Um, you got everything. You were respectful, and your respectfulness made the photograph more difficult to make. I just want to play with the cropping tool a little bit.
yeah,
I think you guys kind of know where I'm getting at with the cropping tool. Uh, I just want to see what we can get, because over here and over here, it weighs a little too much.
yeah.
Uh, so let's just get in there and just see what a crop looks like. Obviously, our
And it was unfortunate because right as I took the picture, the young man kind of stepped back, and so you get his backside right there in the frame, and it was one of those where I didn't want to look, I didn't want to be disrespectful and look at what did I just capture, but I thought I'm going to take my shot at trying to get this one.
all right, I'm gonna make a bold choice here, and I'm gonna cut Jesus out a little bit. Um, I'm a pagan Jew. I can do that. Um, I like the space on the floor. I like the negative space, and let's see what we think of this. So let's just uncaps that and bring her in a little bit. And let's just go to the crop that we did on the open. Oops. Yeah, 100%. So here's the lesson here. I think I really want to kind of, as far as the making the photograph a little bit, include Jesus up on top. That's subjective. We could certainly play around with that. Your subject is in the rule of thirds. The perfect grid is there. You can see that she's right into the spot. This is all good. This is interesting. I really don't have a problem with this, Todd, with the person who stepped back. I mean, is it ideal? No, it's not, but there's so much emotion and so much complexity going on that you're fine. I wouldn't have any problem with that whatsoever. Um, if you were a more brash person, if you were more focused on the picture, and you were more focused than you were, I don't want to necessarily say polite, but you were a little more focused than you were about, yeah, there's your politeness and there's getting the picture, and
Yeah,
you balance them really nicely. Had you had tried working it, what you could do is she's down for a while, reposition yourself,
yeah,
work it a little bit. Again, I hear you. I would never do that to somebody praying. I like what you did as a voyeuristic approach. It's respectful. Good job.
yeah. I wish I could have backed up just a little bit further to my left from where I am right now, taken the this lady was holding a flag beside me. So that's sort of what you're seeing on that top. Yeah, right there.
Okay.
And I
Okay.
wish I could have taken the time to really wait till that flag was out, and get that set a little bit more. But yeah, it was.
Yeah, I don't even know if the crop really, if it works. I think it works either way. The crop helps it, I think, just a tad bit, but great work. You gotta nailed it on that one. That's a good one. And I like you dug into so you took this a while ago. Just quickly, if you could just say your process. You got the assignment. Did you know that you had this photograph and wanted to showcase it for this? Or did you just go through your archive until it popped out?
Yeah, no, when I read the assignment, there were a number of photos that quickly popped to mind. And so I perused a number of them and just thought, and in all honesty, I thought there's no way in the world he's going to pick this photo. So it's a real honor for you to have picked it. And I just thought, send it, and whatever happens, happens.
Well, good work. And, also don't, let's not be carried away. We only had 9 people sent in work out of out of thousands. But this was, again, everyone here can pat themselves on the back because you worked it. All right, good job, Tom. Ava, you're up. Let's see what we got. I like this picture. It's bold. It's about as good as could be at this time of day. We got like around 10:30, 11 in the morning, which is challenging light for certain. Um, yeah, the virtue, the soldier heading off, the virtue of strength and honor. I really, that's what I kind of pick up from that. Um, I like the photo. I feel that you got, and I said this before at one of our first reviews, there's a triangle here that's in the corner, and we got to be really careful of triangles and corners. Triangles and corners bounce compositions around. So once again, we're gonna go to the crop tool, and let's see what we can do here with the crop, just to see if we can. It's gonna be tight. It's gonna be tight. Hold on. Well, we've removed one triangle to find another triangle. So I don't know if let's see how this actually, if this works out or not. Got a little bit more cropping to go. All right. Let's see what we got. Okay. In my humble opinion, I believe that the little crop has helped this photograph out quite a bit. Um, it's risky because we always want to maintain a good level of positive and negative space on that flag, the negative space that goes around it. So we maintained that. Your original composition had some more space there. So we took almost as much as I would like to take. Um, your background supports it nicely. The actions in the foreground here. This isn't perfect. If it was me, I'm going to go over to my burn tool. I'm going to go to a little midtown, mid, mid. So I'm going to burn it back a little bit just so it's not so, it's not so bright. Um, that's how we had it. That's burned. I would do a better job if I wasn't sitting here uh, illustrating this point, but I would play with that burn tool a little bit just to make it a little bit dark, a little bit better in there. I'm going to throw one more thing out to you when I saw this because it's the Buffalo Soldier Legacy. These are obviously vintage soldiers, and I just want to show one thing. I'm going to go to filters. We're going to go to the camera raw filter, and Ava, I just want to showcase this because for those of you that know me, I'm a black and white nut, and I'm going to vignette a little bit here to bring that in. I'm going to go back to the light. I want to just knock the contrast back a little bit, play with the exposure just a little bit. Okay, I'm liking all that. The haze. Okay, now. Okay. I think your photograph in color was strong. It looked good. It was fine. I just want to see a show of hands here. Feel free, you can yell it out for do we like it in color with some good colors, or do we like it in black and white? What is the general opinion? Jan, what do you think?
I think black and white.
Okay. I'm with you on that. And Todd, you have a very confusing screen name up there, but
Do I? Oh, sorry.
oh no, you're okay. I'm sorry. It's
Oh, me?
yeah, Paul, sorry. Okay. What
Yeah,
do you like it better in black and white or color?
it's a hard call on that for me. I think it needs a little more contrast in the black and white to really make it stand out over the color.
Okay. All right. I'm kind of with you. That's like a 50-50.
Yeah.
And and of course, let's go to Todd. What do you think? What's your call on that?
I like the black and white. I think it communicates a little bit more about what you're actually seeing, taking it back into the time in which it's representing.
Okay, I would concur with that one. That's the I think that's the only real reason to go if you, it's just the communication with that. If you were the virtue of that moment, of course, that's totally subjective. So, Ava, do you care to tell us about your photograph? Ava, I see you. Your screen name's there, and I'm going to ask you to unmute because you're muted. You don't have to turn your camera on. Okay, so you're just listening in on us. Okay. All right. So good photograph. I'm gonna say definitely once again, I think the lesson here is down in the corner, and you got it when you're shooting, uh get closer, move around the subject so that you can lose that spot. The black and white, the color, that was a fancy of mine because I'm a black and white guy pretty heavily. So but just watch your crops. Otherwise, great work, and I hope that you did photograph it with the assignment in mind. Looks like winter. Okay, Larry. I think Larry, I saw him here earlier. Are you still here? I see Ava's trying to connect to audio. Okay. Lawrence, Larry, here we go. Love the photograph. I know it. This is New York City, and this is by the, I believe it's in Central Park. I'm guessing by the fountain, the Bethesda fountain. I like the colors. I guess the virtue here is the virtue of a parent, parenting, father, being working with his son, teaching him something. Uh, Not too sure what he's teaching him. Looks like he's teaching him some heavy metal there. I'm not too sure what's up with that. I like the expression on the kid. I like the format. I like the lines a real lot. I like the color a lot. I wouldn't dare try to make this a black and white. Um, you made a decision to make it the cinema version, the 16 by 9 instead of 3 by 2. That's interesting. I think that this photograph would work as well if we were to crop. A strong photo is a strong photo, and watch this. Works either way. I think you got it better with the extra space. It's more dynamic with the lines. I might try to say, hold on, let's just go to a free ratio. Hold on. Oh, I just want a little more of the classic rule of thirds on it. Let's just take a look here. Like I said, works either way. I'd say nailed it. Great work. If you want to unmute yourself and tell us about your experience with this photo and virtue, or hunting for it, or what was it shot for this assignment, or is this the fall? I ask you to unmute. I got a feeling he logged in and ran off. Okay. All right. So I want everybody here. This is our last of our setup. Let's make sure we're on the last of it. Everybody, great work on this. Thank you for submitting your work. I'm going to stop the share for a moment here, and want to go back to saying how this assignment was it was about introspection. It was about looking into yourself. And there'll be more talks about this. Kind of the goal with this, what I'm building is eventually will be a photo school that'll have an online and an in-person contingent. Um, I'd like to make a living at it. I think it's possible. It's also just great to be able to share all this information. So a couple things that we got going on is we got a workshop with Steve Simon here in New York City. It's a 5-day workshop. If you read the latest email, it talked all about it. It's street photography. It's 5 days, and in the middle of it, it has this important United Nations event happening. And we've got basically a front row seat as photographers. And I'm looking forward to adding to my portfolio some interior shots of the UN. And I've got some patio shots of it already from the first time we had this meeting. So it's a tour, and then it's a presentation, a luncheon for the International Photography Council, their 50th anniversary, and they're doing awarding Douglas Kirkland, who's an amazing portrait photographer. He's passed away. His life partner and wife, Francois, is going to be accepting it for him and telling stories. And then Ben Van Wong, who's an amazing National Geographic photographer, amazing videos. He's getting an award as well, and he'll be speaking. So I'm looking forward to that. That's all. That's just one thing among the 5 days that is this workshop. So thank you everyone for coming out tonight on a Thursday night. I hope everyone has a great night and continue their life of photography.